Hello, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Nathaniel Oluwatomi Amida, your moderator for today's show on LATOKEN VCTV. Um, I'm beaming out of Lagos, Nigeria, and today I have beautiful audience, beautiful panels that will be discussing with me today the topic of SaaS. SaaS, unlike the popular opinion in somewhere in Asia, SaaS does not mean mother-in-law. We're talking about software as a service today. And I guess Van Danny will be able to tell us more about it as the show goes on. And just before we kick off today's show, I'd just like to share a few like statistics I got about the SaaS industry, so to say. Salesforce is the largest publicly traded SaaS company, and as it is, the corporate mobile market within SaaS is expected to be worth 7.4 billion US dollars by the year 2021. There's a very big opportunity in this field, in this market, and it seems to be the new form of delivery of software services across the world right now. Um, by the year 2020, it says 85% of small business will invest in SaaS solutions. So today, we will be discussing with our panel, Vandani, Sergey, Gary, what exactly is SaaS? What are the trends to look out for? And possibly what is the future of SaaS? So without much ado, I think I'd like to start from Sergey. Please introduce yourself. Tell the audience about you, what you do, um, and your background and all.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Hi, everyone. My name is Sergey. I'm a managing partner of Forces Capital Partners, a boutique venture capital and investments consulting company. We are headquartered in Singapore, but we cover investments and work with investors in Southeast Asia, Australasia, actually, Europe and US. I also advise capital family offices with more than $1 billion in assets, and I also advise startups that seek to further gain successfully past the next round of investments. And that's in short about me. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. Um, I'd like to go next to Gary. Gary, will you give us intro about yourself? You know, of course, everybody knows about you, but
I don't know
can
if
you
everybody knows about me. But I remember I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. I'm just lucky to be on the panel today, and I appreciate it.
awesome, awesome,
So it's
awesome.
great to be here. Great to see some friends, Sergey, Vandana, yourself, Nathaniel, and my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 companies, 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software that was sold to Salesforce. Um, In fact, I remember, Nathaniel, being in
Mm,
Salesforce office when there was only 5 people when they just got started, and
wow.
people said it wouldn't work. It was thin client, it wouldn't work. They were in south of San Francisco, and I happened to have a chance to go in that office. So you can imagine how long I've been around tech.
Exactly, exactly.
There
Wow.
were there were dinosaurs. Anyhow, I did. Also, Click Software, Eva.ai, which is one of the top AI HR tech companies that I started 5 years ago. I write a lot. I've written today, actually, no, tomorrow, my next article in Forbes comes out. And I love AI and quantum computing, and just great to be here. I'm the CEO, co founder, and president of Get Shit Done Venture Studios. Almost
Yeah,
forgot.
GSD. You're
Yeah.
right, you're right. Thank you very much, Gary. Obviously, with your experience and your insight, you have a lot to contribute in today's show. Vandana, please, the audience want to know about you, your background.
Yeah, hi everyone. Firstly, thank you, Nathan, for having me here again, and thank you, LATOKEN VCTV, for having me here again. Nice to see Gary, Sergi, and yourself. Uh, this is Vanna Tolani from India, Gurgaon. Um Starting from my background, I was in Jakarta and Singapore for 15 years, where I had my own family office fund. This is my sixth year back in India. I did some investments, then I went back to advisory. Currently, I'm connected with 200 investors globally. We call ourselves a global entity. We pick up global deals, typically ticket size $1 million to $25 million, and we are sector agnostic. And thank you once again for having me here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Vandana. And straight into it. But just before we go into it, I'd like to let the audience know that you can jump in on the discussion by sending your comments. We are live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook, we are live on Twitter, and we are live on LinkedIn. It's an opportunity for you to jump in, ask questions. The panelists will give their feedback. And then also, if you are a startup, you're an entrepreneur, and you have an amazing idea and you just need to share it with the world, you can contact me or any of the LATOKEN team, and we will put you live on this show to make a pitch. And then you just never know. That might be the exposure, the support you're looking for. So, straight into it. Today, Gary, what is SaaS? What is SaaS? I've seen that there is IaaS, there is PaaS. Now, what is SaaS today?
The world has changed, right? And we look at where we are in this distributed world that we're living in today. Here we are on Zoom all over the world, whether in India, Nigeria, Moscow, Palm Beach. I mean, we're all over. So our lives has fundamentally shifted. And technology had to adapt to the shift that's taken place, this entire digital transformation. That's why we start looking at software as a service. So you can imagine being able to access the software in a subscription model from anywhere to anywhere. So that's the beauty of it. And, like I said earlier, I remember being in Salesforce office when it was thin client many, many years ago. And people were laughing at Mark Benioff that he was trying to do this. He had come from Oracle. And look at it now, right? He's one of the richest people in the world. So let's look at, what are some of the reasons? One is, in terms of the being able to upkeep the software, maintain it. The beauty of a SaaS model is you don't have those kind of challenges. So if I'm in Lagos and I want to get on Salesforce, I'm not the one that's got to maintain it. I've got somebody else that's taking care of that for me, all the updates, etc. So that part of the model, for the most part. Then the situation is, the idea to be able to have low code, no code. It's just accessibility, Nathaniel. It's ease of use. It's distributed, allows you to get stuff done very, very quickly, and levels the playing field for everybody involved. So that model is, compared to the centralized models we used to have, and before that, the models that we have that were just, in-house, right? You would have a local area network, and you would have the system in-house, and you have a big IT staff trying to maintain it. But those days have changed.
Awesome. I recall back in the days, if I needed to get a particular program running on my PC, I'd need to buy the CD and then install it and then make sure I update it and all that. But I guess with SaaS now, all I need to just plug into the service online and boom, I have it on my system. I think
Yeah,
that's one of
and they love you, Nathaniel, because you're paying a subscription every month, or you're paying a subscription. It's like a life insurance policy. Once you're in, you're not coming out to you're done with it.
exactly
So
exactly.
it's a beautiful model for the companies. So, and it works for the people.
Awesome. Sergey, please give me your insights, your thoughts. SaaS.
Well, as Gary perfectly put it, it is indeed a beautiful model that lets you, not being worried about installing this complex software on your, office computers, on your network, and not taking the hassle of actually developing it, but using a third party to remove all these complications for you. I remember when it all started. I think I started using the cloud-based software something around 2005, 2006. It all started mainly with being able to collaborate on the documents, on and back at that time they were not updated. I mean that the documents were that you can collaborate on the same document was something unique for most people. Yeah, even these days, sometimes people send you the word file, doc file, and trying to get your feedback on it. But back then, it was very useful. And the second thing that was getting started as cloud-based software is actually team management and project management softwares that help you plan your schedules and being able to collaborate to align your timelines, to align your tasks and all that. I mean, it's not where it all started, but it's the beginning when the people start using it more, more and more. It was still quite a niche market, but it was growing very fast. And when I'm talking about growth, we need to remember that the main users that bring the huge amount of money for these SaaS companies are actually quite kind of conservative companies with thousands and tens of thousands employees around the world. And they're very reluctant about implementing any SaaS software because it takes time to educate their employees. It takes time to understand how this software works. And they are very much concerned, even if you have this, fancy new software coming out, they're very reluctant in implementing it because, well, we all understand what happens if this company goes out of business. Then you kind of get no updates and cannot use it anymore, and you need to move to another software. That's why they look very thoroughly about how the company progresses. Is this really a reliable software? That's why in many markets, and for example in Southeast Asia, we still see very cumbersome and very very unpleasant software with not comfortable UI still having its big chunk of the market. Yeah, that's because they trust the company, they trust the relationship with the founders of the company, and they prefer to use it like they used it before. So I think, yes, it's one thing that we have as a beauty of SaaS software, that it's subscription based, it's scalable. The more people you have in your team, okay, the more you need to pay, but the less people you have in your team, you pay basically not much. But it also goes down to the ability of the company that provides you this SaaS software, the ability of the company to develop it and to actually introduce new features and to actually cater to the needs of the company in your vertical. We'll talk about the trends later, I think. But yeah. That sums up. Yeah, thank you.
Surely. Thanks a lot for that, Sergey. And from what I get from you, it's not just enough to, for example, for a product or a service to be on the SaaS platform. It's also important that it inspires confidence in the users, so it doesn't go the way of most other projects. Vandani, please. I know you have your background in some techie stuff, and what's your insight? What do you see SaaS as?
So, software as a service is a way of delivering applications over the internet as a service. Instead of installing and maintaining software, you simply access it via the internet, freeing yourself from the complex software and hardware management. Basically, it's on the cloud. So, as of 2019, this industry has a market capitalization of over a billion US dollars. One of the most well known examples of SaaS is Netflix. So, who uses SaaS? Well, we all do, but I'd like to focus on using SaaS in businesses. Companies use an average of 16 SaaS apps to run their business every day. And if you have used SaaS, whether personally or professionally, you will see that it is suitable for anyone. So, if you get a chance, do subscribe to Dropbox to store your photographs online. That's a great example of software as a service. Another example could be for work. If you're a marketer and you use email marketing platform to send emails to your customers, then you most likely to use a subscription based model. For medium-sized organizations in particular, software as a service is primarily a hassle-free and cost-effective alternative that offers new possibilities, flexible costs, as well as easy maintenance and deployment. The best part is that you don't need to own a super powerful computer and an in-house server, or to employ an IT expert to be able to store your business information in the cloud. So, software as a service allows multiple users to access to the vast database at any time, anywhere, where there is internet, and that's what makes it so demanding, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Vandani. And the next thing I'd like to go over is I'd like to go over to Gary, and I'd like to ask. I know that you have a penchant for data and the amount of data we are consuming as the years go by. Now, can you tell me some of the key characteristics of SaaS? Why is it so popular? What are the features that make it stand out as a service and as a well adopted model and delivery of software services?
Yeah. So there's two sides to this, and it's a double-edged scenario. Let me tell you a little bit about it. On one side, we can distribute whatever we have anywhere. So Dropbox, Box, Google Drive. Think about it. Slack. Our world is SaaS today. At the same time, think about all the challenges that happen every single day to each one of us. The average person has about 300,000 items in their own personal cloud. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. The amount of information that each one of us has here in this panel doubles every year. In 5 years, it'll be 10 million items. How in the world do you find the things that are out there that are in Dropbox Box? So remember, I sent you an email. Did you get it? I didn't see it. Can you resend it to me? How many times have we said that today, in the last week? Exactly. And that problem's only going to get worse. So the challenge that we have, it's not about where we store it. It's how we search for it, how we can get it. There are no tools right today that are out for a whole lot of different reasons that provide a Google-like search for the personal cloud yet. So it's a real big challenge. So imagine that, in 5 years, it'll be 10 million. And then next year, it'll be, 15 to 20 million items. So we're now in a state I call infobesity, where we're not able to get the information around us. And there's going to be really two classes of people: the people that know and can act on data, and the people that don't know. The good news is the technologies are out there. The bad news is, people say, well, I don't want to pay. I'm not going to pay for search. Google gives it to me for free. But they don't understand there is no such thing as free. Google gives it to you for a reason, right? It's to be able to look at who you are and to be able to market very specifically to who you are. The challenge we have going forward is how in our own personal clouds can we, one, search for that data. I know that file exists and I can't find it. Why? I've either forgotten the keyword or I've forgotten the location. And so now, think about it. I have people send them to Messenger, to WhatsApp, to WeChat, to Telegram, to Slack, corporate email, company email. I probably have 9 email addresses now. I have about 24 data sources. And somebody says, well, I sent it to you. Send it to WhatsApp, send it to Telegram. It's crazy. But we have to address those problems because this is what the future is going to hold. And with the amount of data in front of us, we need to be able to make sense of it.
Awesome. I mean, from your own explanation, I get it that while SaaS is a unique thing and a beautiful thing, one of the key characteristics is that it consumes or it means a huge amount of data is going to be processed, and there needs to be a way to process and arrange and organize all this data. We'll come back to that, Gary. Sergey, I mean, what do you think are some of the key characteristics that make SaaS unique?
Okay, I think of several characteristics. First one is the scalability. So the cloud-based SaaS enables actually businesses to expand, right? And companies can actually select the type of features and options they want. Because you don't have usually just the one subscription type. You can choose the features that are more unique for your company. You can untap those you don't need. So you can basically select your own plan and select the features that you use most. The second one is actually the updates, because the SaaS provides, the software updates, and you don't need to being worried about it. You don't need to install anything. You don't need to, to interrupt your work for the updates, for the server updates, for whatever it is. So this third thing I think is the accessibility. So because of the mobile applications, you can access them from any digital device, any location. You can collaborate on mobile platforms. That means that your employees not tied up to to their laptops, and they can access this service however it is fit. So it gives very, very, very flexible accessibility. Another thing is, I think, increased collaboration that goes with accessibility, since they can, the file sharing is facilitated. Very ease of read, understanding across the systems. You can easily share the files. You can easily collaborate on documents. So that boosts up your productivity, and also removes the problem, eases up the problem of managing the multi time zone teams. And I think the last thing would be security, because the security is very important, and these companies that provide SAS services are very much concerned about security. It's their problem, not yours. So you don't need to worry about someone breaching into these software. Of course, you still need to care about your logins and passwords, but about the software breaches, it's the concern of the companies that provide you these services. Yeah, we had these recently. I mean, the cloud SaaS are not impenetrable. Just recently, I mean, we have these scandals, in the US and other markets about, leakings and all this stuff. But these are the concerns of the SaaS companies themselves. That's why they also invest a huge amount of money into the security, and that's why it's not that easy task to perform. But that kind of removes the burden of maintaining the security from the companies that use these services. So I think that's it in a nutshell. And as Gary, rightfully put it, there is no such thing as free. I mean, if you don't understand, if you think that nothing being sold to you, then usually, you are the product that they sell. That these companies actually sell to someone. I mean, your profile, your time, your interests, or something like that. So there are a lot of SaaS that you can access for free, but they all have a model that they expect you to grow at some point. If you just one-man team, then probably you can use it for free. But when you start to grow, when you are a very interesting customer to them, that's the point when you start to paying them monthly subscription or yearly one. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sergey. I mean, I got a couple of things, and scalability, accessibility, increased collaboration, security. And all of this is all tied to what Gary was saying earlier. So much data to process, so much data to handle, and it's amazing how, like Gary normally says, that there's so much data to go to the moon and back, but now there's no capacity to really process this information and make sense of them. So while SaaS is beneficial as a collaboration tool, accessibility tool, there still needs a lot needs still to be done to organize all this data into meaningful stuff. Vandani, what's your insight? What are the key characteristics that make SaaS
Yeah.
unique?
So I agree to what Gary and Sergey said about it, but I feel SaaS brings in simplification, access, affordability together, so that the businesses can now have access to complicated software and IT, infrastructure components easily at lower costs. And it is for this reason that today, even the large scale enterprises like SAP, Oracle are adopting the SaaS model. SaaS applications for business are getting popular these days, and the main reasons are for that are it enables businesses to experience a significant drop in their costs. With SaaS, you are investing in business infrastructure or software that does not demand any initial upfront and management costs on the whole. Here you are not required to get licensed software or support instances of your software or infrastructure. You're not required to pay for the hardware that hosts the applications. No, radius installations processes, no wastage of money or management time. All are management by the vendors on your behalf while you take the benefits of the service. Secondly, no delays with SaaS. With traditional setups, businesses required to buy hardware and software for their functioning requirements and had to wait for the complete infrastructural setup. But with SaaS, the setup time drops from weeks or months to just few hours or days or less. Here, hardware or software setup is not required and is just about renting, hence, no more delays. Then, thirdly, it is easy to adapt with changes and demands. Compared to the traditional on premise solution, it is easy scaling a SaaS based solution. Not only scaling up, it also makes scaling down easier for the retailers who require added resources to meet the peak workloads, at a few times of the year. In such a case, planning and investing in traditional software to meet workloads for just a short span of time can prove to be costlier for the retailers. Hence, SaaS model is a better fit option for scalability requirements. Apart from scalability, SaaS proves worthy to meet the changing requirements of the businesses. With upgrading software and increasing competition, businesses require to upgrade their systems with regular software and hardware upgrades, as compared to the traditional model where the users are required to buy the new software or hardware for changing requirements. SaaS models allows for changing up to the latest subscriptions, and that's about it. Then, fourthly, it is unrestricted access. SaaS software applications are hosted on the cloud and can be easily accessed from anywhere over the internet through mobile devices. Hence, a business person can access their critical business information from anywhere and can work easily around even when away from the workplace. Hence, no
Exactly.
longer interruption in your business tasks due to traveling or moving around. Then, A few other things are that users pay monthly fee for the app or based on the volume of services consumed. If the service does not satisfy the user with some features, or there is no need for the user to use it any longer, they can simply stop paying for that or using that service. And you can also use the service remotely via browser without being attached to the workplace. So even if you are mobile, you can do this very easily, and many users can use one account at the same time. uh, Especially if you see Netflix. That's a very good example. The software
Yeah.
is deployed in a single data center without using each specific customer's facility. The customer gets a ready to work solution and does not have to deal with the technical aspect actually. And such systems are commonly cross platform and cross browser, and consequently they have minimal technical requirements to use them. So the product is upgraded as well as modified with all sorts of system updates centrally on the provider side. So technical support is already included, so the total amount of monthly fee is pretty much reasonable. And some SaaS provide a limited set of features for free, and you'll have to pay a subscription fee to access the advanced ones. That is free premium model kind of a service that they have. And
That's right.
I would like to highlight some services that come under SaaS is like Salesforce, Google Workspace apps, Mailchimp, Microsoft 365 data storage, cloud backup, Netflix streaming services, Zoom online communication services, and the one that we are using, I think it's called Streams,
StreamYard.
yeah, StreamYards, and DocuSign. I sign all my documents using DocuSign. So I think this is my small take over here on the key
Very,
features.
very, very detailed, very, very exhaustive. I mean, the audience will have a lot of notes to write and a lot of notes to take. And I really encourage our audience, wherever you might be right now, listening to this program on Facebook, LinkedIn, on Twitter, you have comments to make, just post them. Our team will put them across the screen and will give you feedback instantly. Um, Vandana, you said a lot about the some of the characteristics of SaaS, and it's interesting to me because while you are talking and while everybody's been talking, two things stand out to me: data and security. Gary, what is your take? I mean, I know that broadband security is not accessible all across the world, but these services are needed all across the world. So, what are the other major challenges? Just yesterday, I was reading in the news how some security cameras were hacked and the videos of certain prisons in the US were leaked and all that. I guess this is part of the cybersecurity part. So, apart from broadband access and cybersecurity, can you expatiate the real challenges SaaS companies have to face?
Yeah, so the situation, there's all kinds of there are regulations and rules like GDPR, right? Privacy and security, to be able to comply with all kinds of different regulations. So being able to understand what regulations and which location and what time. So that's door number one. And you came up with a good point, Nathaniel. This, as we come into the age of quantum computers and the ability to be able to hack just about everything, we've got to be really vigilant. So the next generation of cybersecurity products are going to be decentralized cybersecurity tools. And those new decentralized tools like SplitByte are the ones that are going to really help us propel this through this century. And they need to happen sooner than later because, as you rightly said, the challenges that we've had with security cameras, central banks being hacked, grids. I mean, this is a big problem. A few weeks ago, I had a 4-star admiral, a number 2 guy in the entire U.S. military, who worked in Bill Clinton's White House on my show. and we had a discussion, and I talked to him offline and online about it. His name's Bill Owen. And it's a big problem, right? I mean, it's the biggest threat for all of us is that we want to have the Internet of Things and all these devices, and our data is everywhere. So if you're in a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or your phone, our data is everywhere. I mean, you can understand. What did somebody tell me one time? You can tell when somebody's going to die, right? Because they know that much. So what we need to understand is that as we go down through this process, who owns the data? Do you own it? Does a company that you're given to, a Fitbit, own the data? That's something we need to start looking at. So if we go down through, what the future looks like, we've got to redefine who we are. Then at the same time, do we want to pay for it? Google's free today. Well, in terms of not having to pay, but would we be willing to pay if our information was not given out to advertisers? So we need to really think about that. I don't think so. To be honest, we're spoiled. We're really, really spoiled. We like getting the
True.
phone, and then we say log in with Facebook or Google, and you do it. You know what I mean? It's like, and then you say, oh, I get all these ads. But then the problem is you do buy stuff, right? I don't know if you're like me, but it's like I was looking for shocks for my Jeep, and I happen to be looking at them. What happens next? I get an ad for shocks, and they're exactly the shocks that I wanted. I bought them. So, you know,
Wonderful.
yeah.
We
As we go
go
down
ahead,
through
Gary.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, as we go down through this, more and more, I call it hyper personalization. We're going to have more things put at us very, very quickly that really, they're not only what we want now, they're things that'll understand that we're going to want. We're going to want. Yeah. And I'll start to, warm us up to them.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. I'm also getting the vibe that as we go down the coming years, people have to take more responsibility for their own data and the quality of their own data they allow to get out there. Not just that, like you said, cybersecurity is going to become decentralized. Now, we're all used to the software, updating software and all that, antivirus, anti-phishing and all that. Will that era go past and we'll be welcome to this new era of quantum computing and all that? A lot of changes, a lot of things to process, and we cannot exhaust this topic, obviously. Um, it's super interesting to me. Anyway, Sergey, what's your take? I said I know broadband penetration and cybersecurity are major issues in the SaaS industry, but what do you think are major threats to SaaS companies?
Well, as Gary said, there is a really, big problem with the security, and the biggest threat, I think, companies really concerned about security. So the SaaS companies need to put a lot of money into ensure the security, and these expenses go up higher and higher. The second thing, I think, is that there is a trend that companies actually they kind of want one all-in-one solution. So they're not very much happy in using 10 different SaaS services, and they already use them. And I mean, there are multiple of them, right? So of course they provide integrations, and you can integrate, for example, Google Drive into Slack, but they want to minimize the amount of different softwares they use for different tasks. But on the other hand, company cannot provide the software that kind of resolves all your problems, and that's why it gives up a way for more tailored up solutions for specific industries. So I think one of the biggest problems for SaaS companies is actually the rising expenses that they have for maintaining the level of security, the level of accessibility, the level of speed to get the data that you need. Second one, if we right now I'm speaking about the product management, team management, workforce management, different types of management solutions. But if we look at the kind of a Fitbit, as also say a software as a service, but not corporate ones, then there is a huge problem of how your data is being used. That was rightfully put it out, because we all get concerned, that companies know too much about us, who owns the data. That's why, I mean, that there are always trends. So first it was put everything on the cloud. It was probably end of 2008, 2010, put everything on the cloud. Cloud is great, like just put all the data there. Then another trend came up, which began as okay, we care about your privacy, so you kind of need to pay us more, but we never sell your data. So that came the era of private browsing, incognito modes, or the browsers that kind of support the stealth browsing and not store any of your data. Then come the era of also the ad blockers and all this stuff, and the ability of erase your private data from Google. Still not many people know that, but you can access it. I mean, it's not that easy because kind of Google hid it under many layers of UI, but still you can access all your location data, all your not just your browsing data, I mean your location data that you've inputted, or your interest data, and erase all that. But the problem is when you think about erasing it, then the moment when you going to hit up the button, you'll say, oh, but there is a lot of useful stuff might also go away. I have my interests that are inputted there. So you still you understand that you may need to do this to erase all this data, but you you kind of regret to deleting it because you think, okay, but it's useful to me, my voice recognition data, because you also can access it and you can erase it if you want to, but it's kind of hard to find it. I mean, again, in UI. So there was, I think the biggest problem is not just security breaches, but the privacy. It's because, all these voice recognition data, whether or not, I mean, we even had some weird stuff going on. Okay, a friend of mine said that we were talking about some dancing stuff, so probably bachata classes with my friend. I mean, and the phone was lying around. And the next day, he said he saw these dancing advertisement on Instagram the next day. But the fact is, he never browsed it. So the phone just lying around there, and we talked about the bachata. And the next day, this advertisement came in. So that's kind of creepy at this moment, because
it's really creepy.
Yeah,
that
because
means your phone was listening in on your discussions.
Yeah, right. How the hell did it learn about it? So if you never browsed about it, if you never looked for it, I mean, it's not like you go into Google and type it in. But okay, that's the moment when you start to figuring out what app might have leaked it. So yeah, that's a big problem, and there are still many gray areas because we're not completely sure what data is being collected. Unfortunately, a lot of companies are not clear about it. They promise you not collecting this data. They promise that the voice recognition devices, all these home speakers, that they are not collecting the data. But then like a couple of years ago, there were a lot of scandals about that they have specific offices and the centers that actually analyze this data, and the operators analyze this data from what's happening in your room or whatever it is, because it still listens. So I mean, there is still a lot to go in this direction, and I think that's the two major problems that meet privacy, security, and actually what you pay for. I mean, what I am consenting to, not these long sheets of terms of use papers that no one reads, right? Even some companies make a joke of it, that you kind of I don't know, sell your soul to the devil, whatever it is, there's written there. But something explicit. What you guys going to do with my data? What you guys going to do with my voice? What you guys going to do with my, browsing, habits? That's what I want to know.
Awesome, awesome. You have covered a lot of challenges, a lot of worries about the trends around SaaS. And I dare say that the kind of worries over security and privacy that you have in one part of the world is pretty different from the worries that we have in emerging countries, like where I'm from and where Vandana is from. You guys have sorted the problem of broadband penetration to a large extent. In emerging countries, we are yet to have the level of broadband penetration that is the envy of other countries. So when you talk about privacy and data security, it still sounds pretty, foreign. But regardless, I'd like to know, Vandana, what's your thoughts on the challenges that SaaS companies have to face in emerging countries, and what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Gary and Sergey. See, I mean, we put a lot of things on our phone, connects where we are going, the location, so it's like everybody knows everything about us. So it's a kind of a threat as well, because there's a lot of data, which goes out. Not only that, if you look at the number of apps that we download, similar to Netflix, there are many other apps, like a song app, this app, that app. So everybody, every app has some small amount of fee. So I think that, customer retention there and the kind of expenditure we are doing there also is one of the drawbacks of this platform. Nevertheless, technology keeps changing, every 6 months, every 3 months. So I guess we just have to adapt ourselves to the latest technology and get used to it, and keep switching like we did during the lockdown time. We switched to Zoom, we changed our events to online things. So the threats would be there, but we have to just find our way to how do we make it less make it more secure for ourselves, and less of the data being exposed to others. So I'm I've changed my phone several times, and I'm pretty much happy with what Google does. Saves everything, and then the moment you change your phone, everything is back. So I think so I'm pretty much happy with that. And all my passwords, and my daughter remembers everything, so I really don't have to I don't have challenge, I don't lose a lot of data. So I think it's pretty much helpful out there. And as you see, AI has come into um, uh, AI is and machine learning. I think these all advancement in technologies will really help in the future, and I see it as an both as an advantage as a disadvantage. So challenges will be there, but we have to really find our way to how to manage the challenges and get to the destination eventually.
Yes, thank you very much, Vandani. I still want your. Do you think SaaS companies have a higher possibility of succeeding in developed countries than in emerging countries? I want to insist that our broadband penetration is still not sufficient and affordable enough to get your projects to the masses.
I understand that. Yes, of course, developed countries, it is better, and emerging countries, they are having difficulties because of the broadband. But I think India has sorted this problem when Geo came in during lockdown with all those different packages. And typically, I'll tell you, I'm at the ground floor, and where the signal is very low, but I'm able to do all my calls, all my stuff really well without any problems at all. People who stay at the ground floor or basement, they usually have a problem with that. So I
Okay.
think, emerging countries need to sort this problem of their broadband very, very quickly. And maybe they could get some ideas from how India sorted it during the lockdown, having Geo in place. So I think this should work well. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. I'm a strong believer that Africans need to find, countries
Yeah.
need to find their own unique solutions to that
So there.
to them, and it's important that for many services post COVID to survive, to strive, to thrive. One thing needs to be sorted, and that's broadband. And broadband is going to be hold every other service together. So I think
Yes.
broadband needs to be sorted out. Cybersecurity, data protection, privacy needs to be sorted out, and before we can see SaaS go to the next level, like go to the next billion of revenue or stuff like that. So anyway, thanks for that, Vandani. Thanks for your insight. Thanks for your input. And obviously, our audience watching, please make your comments, ask your questions. Let's get your feedback and let our audience participate and give you their own feedback. Guys, we're coming to the very end of today's show, and just before we go, I had this question: gaming collaboration software, that's project management or video, that's media services like this, Netflix and all. Which one of these SaaS sectors do you see will see a significant growth in the coming years? Gary.
I mean, the situation is, look at what's happened with Zoom since the pandemic. They went from 30 million daily active users to over 400 million. Our lives have fundamentally shifted during this digital transformation. And so I don't see what you're going to see, Nathaniel, over the next few months. As this vaccine starts to roll out, you're going to see a very interesting effect, a paradoxical effect, because people are going to start to want to get out. They want to be together. They want to herd, and they want to be around each other. So you're going to see that happen for a few months. People are going to want to have meetings again, lunches, dinner, anything to get away. Then you're going to see, my prediction is about 6 months later, you're going to see people go back to the way it was because of the high efficiencies that we've had and being able to communicate all over the world to be able to get stuff done. So, I mean, it's here to stay. This world has really been brought together. McKinsey said that about 2 years ago that 92% of the companies worldwide were going to go through the digital transformation in the next 10 years. Well, that had to happen in a very short period of time. So the good news of the pandemic is we've been able to we've broken down barriers and brought people together. So I see the gaming, of course, because gaming took off during the pandemic also, services like Netflix that can bring us content. I mean, think about it. At the beginning of the pandemic, actors couldn't even get into the studios.
Cinemas, yeah.
Yeah, so we couldn't go in as patrons. Actors couldn't do the movies, but those times have changed. We've had to suffice. Studios like Amazon and Netflix have really grown. And so I see that not stopping, although I see it slowing down a bit because people aren't going to, I mean, there's only so much Netflix and Amazon Prime and other services that you want. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of watching, and I do it, Breaking Bad and Lost in Space. And I mean, even the Tiger King, I got to tell you, that was the craziest show I've ever seen, but I watched the entire stupid Tiger King because it was entertaining. I didn't think that was real, you know?
You're right. You're very right. I mean, it had a whole movement around it that you thought would never die.
Yeah, Carol Baskin. I'll never forget Carol Baskin. That's for sure.
Oh, sure.
So there's just, our lives have fundamentally shifted. And, we've got to look on one side, we got to look in, and the other side, Nathaniel, we got to look out. There's 6 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way galaxy, an estimated 200 trillion galaxies in the universe. You know, the things that are happening with Blue Origin, with Musk and SpaceX, we've got, and Virgin Galactic, we've got to start exploring. I mean, we're going to have 13 billion people on the planet by the end of this century. And then think about the next century when it doubles again. I mean, we're getting to a point where you have too many people in a very small sphere. We got to look beyond our borders. We ought to be thinking about that.
You're thinking about life on Mars?
I'm thinking about life in other places, not even Mars. I'm thinking about, actually, in a couple of weeks, I have a quantum physicist who's been compared to the next Stephen Hawking's on my show. She's from Harvard. And so we're going to talk about quantum physics and wormholes and travel, right? Being able to travel through wormholes to go to different things that are now becoming more plausible.
I'd like to know about that show. I mean, I'd like to just see, my dreams come to pass. I need to watch that. I need to be
I
part
know
of
what
that.
you're going to do, Nathaniel. You're going to go back in time and you're going to buy Amazon stock and Intel, and you're going to buy Facebook, and you're never
Trust,
going to be
trust me, I'd live another life. I probably will not be on this show. I'll meet you somewhere else.
Exactly. You know what I mean? That's the first thing people are going to think about. I'm going to
Yeah.
rewind and go back, and I'm going to win the Olympics.
Oh yeah, surely, most definitely, most definitely. Sergey, please, give me your final thoughts, your insights, and what's your own prediction? Gaming, SaaS collaboration, or SaaS media? Where do you see exponential growth in the future?
I think the SaaS collaboration, because the media and gaming already grew significantly in 2020 and, beginning of 2021. I mean, in terms of, if we all think as VCs, as investors, it already happened. I mean, the market is already, overhyped and overheated. That's when it happened, more than a year ago, because that's the moment when people started to be, being locked down, and the spike of, gaming usage was for, mid summer 2020. We had a company that we work with, Amphers esports company. They had a huge growth, the esports in Southeast Asia. Quite successful startup. They, had a significant growth in midsummer on usage of um, streaming activities.
Yes.
The amount of viewers that watched these events, it grew significantly. But speaking about it, will it grow that much in 2021, 2022? I don't think so, because we all expect the vaccines rolled out. The people will start probably spending less time at the gaming and watching media. I don't say that they will stop using this. I'm just saying that it will go back to a bit normal. Because what happened in 2020, it was a spike due to nothing to do. For example, what currently happening in cinemas, they don't have anything new to show to people. In some countries, the cinemas are open with half the visitors allowed or something like that, and they rolling out the old movies. I've seen, the recently Mulholland Drive, for example, which is 2001 movie, great movie from David Lynch, or Vancouver movies, 2046, if I remember correctly, or 2048 movie called Vancouver. Yeah. So the old movies, and people go there and watch them, because basically there is nothing to entertain you. And I mean, these are great movies to see.
Yeah.
And but when the restrictions lifted out, people spend less time gaming. So I think that's the collaboration that comes up, because that's not going away. I mean, a lot of people already chose to to do their work remotely. So that's where the collaboration comes as more vital in this case.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm just having my own book here, and I'm putting your name against collaboration. In the next, so 5 years from now, I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn, and I'll say, "Hey, you said collaboration."
And then I'll go back in time for 5 years and say,
That's good. That's good. Okay, Vandana, please, what's your prediction and final thoughts? SaaS gaming, SaaS collaboration, or SaaS media? Where do you see the next big boom?
I think it's SaaS media. I'll give you a few examples. When demonetization happened in India, uh, everybody got the shock of their life, and nobody knew how to use Paytm, the digital payment thing that we have. Now I see, it forced us to learn that technology. Now I see even vegetable vendors, taxi drivers, everybody is using it, and we go cashless everywhere. So it's just that we need to adapt to new technologies, I feel. Similarly, during lockdown, I mean, I used to go to movie theaters to watch movie every week, with my friends and with my family. And then during lockdown, I learned how to use Netflix. I asked my kids, "How do we do this?" I'm bored. So, so I think platforms like these, Zoom and streams, where we can have events, save a lot of time traveling, and close deals very fast. I think so. I strongly believe media will still be the upper hand here, since we are still in the pandemic, though the vaccination has come out, but there are cases that are rising. So for now, everybody feels a bit relieved, but then eventually again, I can see some more lockdowns happening because I see the cases rising. So I think media would still be definitely, during lockdown, we saw a lot of people buying, Android telephones. We saw a lot of people buying laptops, and going into all these other, services. Teachers
Yeah.
recognized how to use Zoom. They didn't know how to use Zoom. They were skeptical. And then I remember the day we were using a StreamYard, we all, blew up, and how do we use this? And we all crashed. And then again, we got back. So I think we just have to adapt and keep changing, be progressive, be positive and proactive in everything, and just accept things as they come. And I see media as one of the upcoming things. Definitely, I have stopped using. I don't buy the physical newspaper. I just use Economic Times on my hand phone. So you can see I've discarded that. So, you can just Google any news nowadays. So
Yeah.
I think definitely the media is going to take a toll on everything. You see LinkedIn, you see Facebook. I have connected with people in this past 1 year, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and all these platforms better, and closed a lot of deals. Just sitting at one chair. So
Yeah.
I think media is definitely the future of futuristic here, with AI
Of
and machine
SaaS.
learning,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is definitely the futuristic technology, AI and machine learning. You know, I during lockdown I bought the Alexa also, and I feel it's so handy. When I'm in the kitchen, when I'm working, I just say, "Alexa, do this. Alexa, do that." I mean, it's quite helpful to me. And can you remind me to do this? Can you wake me up? I mean, my life is a bit sorted, after Alexa came in. So
Awesome.
yeah.
But be very careful and make sure you don't send Alexa on an errand to get your keys, because then Alexa will have grown legs, and we don't want to see that happening. And then, secondly, a couple of days ago, like 2 days ago, the Grammy was held. But the Grammy
Right.
was held on like in a central location. It was held in remote location, and it was, and for the first time, you could still see a crowd, around each of these celebrities, celebrating
Hmm.
their awards, celebrating the gifts and all that. And
Hmm.
to me, that further buttresses what you said about media being the next big thing, because this is a sign that events do not have to be centralized anymore. They can be decentralized. They can be as popular as they were before the lockdown. Maybe not as many people, but still with similar effect. So when you say the media is going to stand out in a few years from now, I think I see some of your thinking in that direction, and it's cool. And like I said, I have your name down on this note, and I'll remind you 5 years from now. Yeah,
Okay, if
no
I'm alive.
problem. No, surely.
Sounds
We,
creepy.
Positive thinking, Vandana.
no, no. I think she's just being a realist, connecting that
I
everything
think,
that comes goes.
we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So, I mean, how can we be so sure what's going to happen five
Well,
years down the line?
there's
Yeah, I mean, what we've
very
predicted
wise,
just before the pandemic arrived, yeah.
there's a very wise philosopher, Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, true, true,
Awesome,
true.
awesome. And then we have Gary here to help us with time travel, just in case things don't go our way. We do the time travel and then get back to where we should get.
So
Guys,
if we don't see you the next time, we know what happened. You went back.
oh no, obviously, obviously, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your insights. Thanks for your thoughts. Thanks for your lessons. I'm sure the audience had a lot to learn today. I am sure that the audience will probably want to go back to our YouTube channel, LinkedIn pages, Facebook, and Twitter, just to recap all that we have discussed today about software as a service. And I hope that this is an opportunity for more projects to reach out to us and discuss their projects, their ideas, and pitch to the wonderful panel we have today and see if they get the support and funding or exposure that they need. So, to our audience, to our panelists, thank you for being there today. Look forward to having you on the next show, on the next event, which is in a few minutes from now, and hosted by Sonny. And thank you guys. See you guys next time.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
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 Bye bye.
Bye.